I've written previously about the Red-Green alliance, which has taken hold in the UK, which ultimately involves cooperation between radical leftists and political Islamists. But the real worry is the degree to which mainstream liberals in the British political system get sucked into that Red-Green alliance. And you see much rhetoric surrounding Islamophobia. The argument I've often made is that I'd say that the UK is arguably the best place to live as a Muslim, if truth be told, considering its religious freedoms, the fact that it has very strong anti-discrimination protections on the grounds of race, ethnicity, and religion. And I think there's just a lack of assertiveness in the British political system in terms of pushing back against that sort of victimhood industry, which has really taken hold in the UK. And I think the worry is that when you have that policy approach of multiculturalism, what you see is state agencies engaging with self-appointed community leaders who are very vocal, they're very assertive, but they aren't usually accountable at all. Quite often they've never held an elected position in their lives, and they're not necessarily representative of mainstream British Muslim opinion. If you look at recent polling, it shows that the majority of British Muslims are concerned about the threat of Islamist extremism in the UK. And quite often it's because more moderate, secular-minded, pro-democracy British Muslims, they have to face Islamist intimidation in their own communities on a day-to-day basis. And quite often that's overlooked. So instead of empowering those Muslims who are patriotic, community-spirited, they respect the rule of law, they value equality of opportunity in Britain, what the UK has done, unfortunately under a very ill-conceived model of multiculturalism, it's empowered anti-democracy organisations. I'll tell you a quite remarkable outcome where we have a scheme in the UK called Prevent. It's designed to fight terrorism. It's meant to be an anti-terrorism scheme. It was found that it actually allocated funding to a charity where the leadership appeared to express sympathy with the Taliban. This is anti-extremism funding. And I think it just shows the sort of poor due diligence. Well, I say it's poor due diligence, but we need to really work out how such an outcome can possibly come about, where British taxpayers' money, which is designed to counter extremist narratives, is then allocated to a charitable organisation where the leadership expresses sympathy with the Taliban leadership in Afghanistan. So I think that what that really tells you is that there's some fundamental flaws in terms of how our model of governance works in modern Britain. And I think crucially something that Dr. Florence, if I could add to that, is that I said that what we've seen in the UK is the rise of the identitarian state, where you have, in my view, tribal ideologues worming their way into the state apparatus in the UK. And not only in spheres such as education and healthcare, but actually in the security sphere, in law and order. Indeed, providing advice to the Metropolitan Police Service in London how to approach protests and demonstrations where there's very clear displays of pro-terror paraphernalia and indeed anti-Semitic chanting. And I just find it absolutely remarkable where you have a situation where British Muslims who should be considered allies in terms of trying to cultivate social cohesion, maintain national solidarity, they're sidelined, while in my view you have radical activists with very clear Islamist appetites actually being given greater power and control under the multicultural model. And I think that that's something that will take a very long time to counter because that model has become so embedded in various spheres of British life.